today I have with me author extraordinaire, Cassandra Rose Clarke. And today we're going to talk about her brand new, right? Brand new.
Yes, brand new. Just came out.
Star's End. Oh my God, Cassandra. That's all I have to say. Oh my gosh. I think I found this book on Goodreads, okay? And I haven't read any of your other stuff, and so sometimes that happens and I'm like, oh good, somebody new, and I could not put that book down, and it is not my genre, and everybody knows that. I say that every time I read a sci-fi book, but it's become, I think I'm gonna have to start saying that I love sci-fi, because you guys are like,
that's always what happens.
I know, because I'm always like the romantic and the drama and everything, but the more and more I read, and especially from you women, okay, like you write the best sci-fi books ever. But I wanted to tell you that I don't know what genre you call this, but I think it's like sci-fi thriller. I look at it like, I don't know, is that or is it just under fantasy, or I don't know.
Right. I've been seeing it classified as space opera, which I think is funny, because when I think space opera, I think of like Star Wars and like space battles, which my book doesn't really have space battles in it. But I tend to think of it as just science fiction. But I think of it as sort of science fiction crossed with like family drama. Because to me, I was sort of writing it with the idea of it being like the sort of literary fiction family drama type story you would tell in the future. Like when I started writing it, that was kind of the idea I had in my mind. So I can kind of see the sci-fi thriller aspect.
Well, only because, excuse me, I'm going to be coughing, I think. Sometimes when I know I'm going to interview somebody, I will save the last 20 pages because I'm afraid. Okay, I'm afraid I'm going to say something, and then, because I don't want to, I don't want to ruin it for people. So I'll save it. I couldn't save it. Okay. I just kept turning it, and then I was like, oh crap, I just finished the book.
As a writer, I am very happy to hear that.
Oh well, I couldn't wait. I had to find out what happened, and I love how you said that about family drama, because that was the one question I was going to have for you, is how many brothers and sisters do you have?
I actually only have one brother.
Me too. I have a younger brother. Do you have a younger brother or older?
Yeah, he's 2 years younger.
Me too. My brother's 2 years younger. So, okay, but I have 6 children. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I get family drama. Okay, mm-hmm. I did have family drama, but between me and my brother growing up, not so much. We kind of were always like this set unit. But recently, I've been having a little bit of drama with him that has been really kind of out of the blue. So as I'm reading this, I was like, what would it have been like with 3 sisters? Like I have 6 children, but 4 of them are boys. And then I have 2 girls right in the middle. And actually, that's kind of kept a lot of drama from happening. But these 4 girls, I mean, they are fun. And, okay, her name is Esme?
Esme, yeah.
Esme, okay. Of course, I became so attached to her and her story and the way you write her. And I was thinking about your writing and about other sci-fi novels I've read, and I was just like, she was so, like, a part of me. Like, I just loved her so much. It didn't seem like, sometimes they seem out there. Space will seem out and distant and almost like sometimes unrelatable, which is why I would say that it wouldn't have been my thing. But the way you wrote her, I loved her so much, and I felt for her, and I had a heart for her, and I just wanted her whole world to be okay.
Well, thank you. I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, I was so happy too. Like, I love how you wrote. And we'll get into how you figured this out, but I love how you wrote about like the future, but they still had coffee, so I was really happy about that. I was like, oh good, so they'll always have coffee, because I think we're gonna need coffee no matter where we are.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true.
And I do like how you did that. So I always ask you guys is like, your dreams must be incredible. Like, how do you dream? And the precision of these worlds. Like, how do you do it? How do you do it?
Well, honestly, a lot of it comes from inspiration. I really like science fiction, particularly movies and comic books. So a lot of it is kind of, I like take in all of this media and it just sort of swirls around inside my head. So it's not, I'm not saying like I'm going to rip off, Star Wars or whatever. But it's just, I kind of take all of these different pieces and just kind of put them together. And I kind of am thinking, what's going to be cool? What's going to fit for the story, because a lot of the world building for this one was about the story I was trying to tell, especially with Esme's relationship with her father. So a lot of the kind of like the government system and all that sort of built around that relationship, actually, because I tend to start with characters when I'm writing. So characters are super important to me. That's why I was so happy to say that you liked Esme and connected with Esme, because that's one of the things I'm really interested in as a writer. And then the world kind of comes out from that. But then I'm always sort of pulling from other things that I've read or other things that I've seen and just kind of mixing them all together.
And coming up with your own like version of what it's going to look like.
Right. Yeah.
And your website is so cool, and I will link it to here because I went on it to do some research on you, and I loved how you have to when you guys go on this page, you have to go to the link that links to this book because she tells the cutest story about what this book is about. I thought that was great. What a cute idea. And I mean, you've won so many awards. You've done so much writing, and I saw that this book was really like a kind of a secondary project for you at the time that you were writing it. And I was like, how did you do that? Like, how did you,
I don't know when I think back now because I'm a lot busier now than I was. Because like I said, I started writing this in like January 1st, 2013. Like, because it was a new year. I was like, I'm going to start this new system. And I was just, I had a lot of sort of contracted projects that I was working on, and I wanted the chance to just sort of write something that I felt like writing, basically. And so that was where a lot of it came from, was that I knew I have to kind of get these other books done, but I'm going to give myself that 15, 20 minutes each morning to work on this. And so I would write about 500 words every day. And I did that for several months. Eventually, it did become my main project. Because I was going through, it was taking so long, honestly. Like 500 words a day isn't a whole lot, and it was just dragging out. And I was like, okay, I need to just finish this. And so I did kind of get bumped up to my primary project about kind of halfway through it. But yeah, I think a lot of what allowed me to do that was because it was something I really wanted to write, and so that was kind of my impetus there.
So when you think about it on January 1st, do you just start writing, or did you have an outline, or did you then start your outline then?
I didn't really have an outline for this book, which was another reason it took me so long. I'm not really an outliner. I've kind of picked up the habit as a way of kind of cutting back on revision because I don't like revising. Like, I love drafting. That's my favorite thing to do. I don't like outlining. I don't like revising. But when you don't outline, a lot of times you wind up having to do a lot of revisions, which I actually had to do with this book. But when I started writing it, I had the basic idea. I had the characters. I had worked out sort of the sisters' ages. This was the most I had as an outline. It was like a little chart with the sisters' ages and personalities and their kind of roles. And I kind of just went from there and just sort of started writing it. And then I would kind of make notes to myself at the end of each writing session what I wanted to have next or what I wanted to have happen next. And so I sort of was outlining while I was writing almost. Well,
that's a good concept to do.
Yeah.
And what I loved about it was how you explained it too, because on your website, because I was like, as I'm reading it, and I'm reading it fast because I get caught up in the story. So I am first of all, I'm a book a day reader for the most part, but I get so caught up in turning pages that sometimes I'm like, wait a second, that I spend a lot of time just like you do redrafting. Like I spend a lot of time rereading because I'm like, I missed something. How did I miss it? Because I'm going, my mind is going so fast. So I was really happy to hear like what Philip did. Now Philip is the dad, okay, and he takes on this, as you say, gaseous planet.
Yeah, it's like a planetary system. So it's like I always pictured it as Jupiter. So it's like Jupiter and then the moons. And so people, they can't live on the gaseous planet, but they can live on the moons. So like it's not a star system, I guess, because it's a planetary system. And so, yeah.
So when she's, so she's living on this one moon, Esme. I love that name.
Yeah.
Okay. So Esme is living on this one moon, and as she's traveling, then she's traveling to these other moons. Does she ever travel outside of the moons?
I don't really have her leave that system in the story.
I was thinking not, but then it was kind of a question I had at the end because I was like, maybe I missed it. Like I was thinking maybe with the, this, because like I said, I get very caught up in the story of it, that the travel in my brain takes on the secondary. Yeah. So I was like, wait, did she have her leave the planet? She never really left it. Those moons are basically connected in that it's one government, kind of like countries or right. Okay.
Yeah, or states, maybe. I don't know. It doesn't quite map. I mean, it doesn't quite map because the planet is huge.
But then they have other dimensions.
Yeah.
Right. So. Right. That's what I'm saying. It is a roller coaster ride because I'm just like, as I'm reading, I'm like, and you had me at every turn of every chapter I love the way you wrote, now and then back, and then as that story was filling in. So is that what you were saying when it's hard to outline? Were you getting caught up in the back and forthness, or did you write the now and then fill it in?
Oh, I actually wrote it in the order that you read it in. Like I wrote a now section, and then I got to the end and be like, okay, it's time for flashback. Basically. But I mean, they're not really flashbacks, I guess, because that's the main thrust of the story. Right. But that was, I mean, like the way you read it was basically how I wrote it. And then I would write a now section, and then I would write a then or past section, and then I just went back and forth. And I kind of knew I wanted to do that structure. Like that was one of the things when I started writing was like, I want to have a framing narrative. So, but yeah, it was kind of interesting.
Was that the first time you ever did that in any of your books?
Yeah, actually, it was.
It was, yeah. So, I mean, I loved it. As a reader, I love that. It mixes it up. It and it keeps you going. And I was thinking, as I'm reading it, I'm like, wow, she must have really, to keep this so consistent. That's why I was thinking of, that you wrote all the now and then go back, because in your brain to keep all of that with the years very consistent must just be fun.
Yeah. It was not consistent at the end of the first draft.
Oh, it was
Put it that way.
Not as
like a lot of that I went back and fixed. And in like the process of revising this book, it went through many, many drafts. There was one part where I actually dropped the present day section and it was just the past section. There was one point where there was a huge section from Isabel's point of view, which is as my sister, that got taken out. And then, of course, the present sections got put back in, which I'm really glad that I did that, because I feel like the book needed those present day sections. But they did get expanded. They were actually a little shorter. And then while I was doing that, there was a lot of like fiddly, making sure the dates lined up, making sure the events that she's remembering lined up as she's remembering all that kind of stuff.
I'm kind of having this like sensation, like 50 Shades, where you go back and write it from the other perspectives.
Yeah.
You could so do that. You could so do that with this story because everybody does have their own story that you could so do that.
Yeah, fun. I really like that Isabel section. I always kind of want to do something with it because it was interesting to see everything from her perspective because of everything she's going through. So,
yeah, but even Daphne's perspective, like to see how she ends up where she is, and then Adrian. I think I got some, I got some.
For the whole series.
The whole series, as a fan, I'm just, all your fans like to project what they want. So,
right.
They may not let you go on this. They may want to know,
Yeah.
I think they will. And I mean, look at this cover. This cover is, my camera does not get,
yeah, it's like reflecting my face.
I know, it's like reflecting, but I just wanted to see, it took me a minute after I bought it, because I'm always looking back to the cover, and it's like, I'm assuming it's Esme.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's such a cool cover. I love it. Love, love, love it. So, okay, let's talk about your journey to this, because I love hearing about how you get to this book. You've done so much stuff. I mean, where, I know that you went to University of Texas, so you have an MA in creative writing or writing.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you do so you want to be a writer. Because a lot of times people get to a certain age and they're like, okay, I want to be a writer now. You knew, right? I want to be a writer. Okay.
Yeah, it was interesting. I kind of in college decided I wanted to pursue writing. I'd always enjoyed writing. I also really enjoyed art. And when I went to college, I'd actually intended to major in studio art. So painting and drawing and that kind of stuff. And I wound up getting kind of burned out on it in high school. And so I sort of didn't take any art classes, and I took a creative writing class, which I'd never done anything like that before. And that was what got me into writing. And I had a professor in my undergrad who really, really encouraged me to go to grad school and to pursue writing as a career, which, I mean, I'm not, I sometimes think, I wonder if I had gone to another school, if I hadn't had that professor, if I would have, actually pursued it, or if I would have wound up majoring in art. And so I decided to go ahead and apply for creative writing grad programs. And like you said, I got into UT. So I kind of trained with literary fiction more so than genre fiction, because creative writing programs do focus more on literary fiction. I would write genre fiction anyway, but I was still it was definitely kind of more literary. And then when I got out, when I graduated, I started submitting stuff. And I went to Clarion West, which is a science fiction workshop. That's sort of like an MFA for science fiction writers. Mm-hmm. And when I went to Clarion West, I had just finished my first, it went on to become my second novel, Mad Scientist's Daughter. So I had finished that. I went to Clarion West, and then when I got back, I started submitting it. And that book was how I got my first book deal, because it was published originally through Angry Robot, which is a British publisher. And they had an open door submission period where they looked at unagented manuscripts. So I was trying to get an agent, but I was really not very good at writing query letters. I went back and looked at my query letter, and it was really bad. But so I was like, okay. But I submitted it to their open door submission period, and they bought the book along with another book that I had written kind of while I was waiting to hear back. And that book wound up being my first book, it was published as The Assassin's Curse. And then Mad Scientist's Daughter came out. And then, so that was kind of what got me into publishing. That was how I got my agent as well. So I actually went backwards from a lot of people, in that I got the publishing deal first, and then I was able to get an agent. And then I wound up having some shakeups with Angry Robot. And so a lot of my books, we got the rights back, and we redistributed them through Saga, which is who published Star's End. And so I had Star's End was a contracted book. I had sold Our Lady of the Ice, which was my first Saga book. And then, like I said, I had been working on Star's End for 2 years, and that wound up being the book that we submitted to fulfill my Saga contract. So that's kind of how we got to this point.
Wow. Yeah. Who published this book?
Saga.
Oh, Saga did. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought so. And then I was, okay. So that is incredible. And I love now that I'm seeing you, I'm like, you've written so much. You look so young. You've done so much, you're and are you doing it full time now?
No, I actually teach as well. So I teach at some community colleges in Houston, because I'm an adjunct. So I teach English, freshman English. And then I also teach some creative writing classes through Write Space, which is a literary organization in Houston.
Oh, nice. But at least, so you do get to write like a lot.
Yeah. I mean, that's the nice thing about adjuncting, is that it's technically a part-time position. I have a lot of grading that I have to do, but I also get a lot of time at home where I can kind of work out my schedule so that I can grade and then go write. And it makes it a lot easier than if I had like a desk job or an office job.
Yeah, a real serious 40-hour a week,
Yeah.
So this just came out. Are you doing a book tour?
I am not.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't know, a lot of people aren't anymore. I mean, some people are, and they still do that, but a lot of authors are finding out that, well, they're doing other things too, like you,
Yeah.
They don't have time.
I tend to go to conventions. So I'm going to be going to, like Worldcon, which is the big science fiction convention. I'll be going to that.
There was just one. Was there just one in Anaheim this weekend? Nah, maybe that was comics.
It may have been a Comic-Con. There's like conventions like every weekend.
I know, and I see them on Facebook, and I'm always like, okay, another convention, another, But if it's a place that you can go if they come around your area, that then you can go and sign books for people, and, kind of be out there. So that's awesome. So so I'm sure there's something else coming out after this. I'm sure you have.
Well, I'm actually sort of in between things right now. What my next big project is a serial project actually called oh my gosh, your son can edit this out. The Witch Who Came In From the Cold. It's a serial project called The Witch Who Came In From the Cold. That's actually currently being released. It was written with 3 other writers. And it's a really kind of interesting, different way of telling stories. And then I'm also going to have one more book out from Saga called The Magic of Wind and Mist, which is it's partially a re-release and partially a new release. So I mentioned earlier that I had some shakeups with my first publisher. What had happened was they had a YA imprint that published some books and then it shut down. And it had published one of my books, and then a month later, it shut down. And so this book that's coming out, half it's a kind of bind up. So the first half is the book that was released, called The Wizard's Promise, and then it's the sequel that never got released. So that part's totally new. So that's going to be coming out next year.
Oh, awesome! And you could always do another part of this.
Yeah, definitely.
No, I mean, Cassandra, seriously, like I can see when I read the book first before I read anything about you. I that's what I do. I read. I try not to do any reviews. I get them off Goodreads for the most part on new releases. They are my number one source to go to for everybody out there. I don't do Amazon reviews. I don't do anything like that. I've gotten I don't know. It's sour tasting. Too many bad reviews of books I love, and so I just gave all that up. Goodreads will put out new releases every month. This came up, and I got it, and I read nothing, and I read the book, and I was like, oh my God, she is an amazing writer. This woman is amazing. Like, I loved it so much that I was, and then I go and see that you won all those awards, and I'm like, of course she did, because she is amazing. That's why. So I love when I find, I love when I find people like you that I didn't know, and then I can go back, and I'm sure lots of readers do that. Some start at the beginning and then work their way through. I have done both, but recently, because of how many books I'm reading and how many interviews I'm doing, I read the book and then I'm like, oh my God, I have to go back and I got to read the other stuff. And you are very talented, and I can't wait to read anything new that comes out from you. I mean, seriously.
Thank you.
And I want everybody to go out and get this book. If you love sci-fi, if you love drama, you don't even have to love sci-fi. If you love any kind of thriller book, this book is amazing. And I can't wait to see what it does, because is it released as a YA or no?
No, it was released as an adult.
Okay, because sometimes I have to say on Goodreads, because if it comes out sci-fi, you can't really tell whether it was YA or adult. Like, it's kind of confusing. So I don't think it doesn't matter, because I think anybody can read this book. So, teen, anybody. I recommend it to anybody out there. So I can't wait. Please keep us in touch. I will put all your links underneath so people can find you and find your website. And you can come on here whenever you want to talk about any new projects, because I'd love to talk to you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. You have a great day.
You too.
Okay, bye-bye.